Today's verses are from Romans 3. They're verses 9 through 20, and they're a bit depth and a bit rich, and it makes me chuckle a little bit reading it. It's like, oh, the Bible's an ancient text. It applies to us every day in ways that we may not even notice. So why don't we dig in and have some fun with it? Passages start, so where does that put us? Do we Jews get a better break than the others? Not really. Basically, all of us, whether insiders or outsiders, start out in identical conditions, which is to say that we all start out as sinners. Scripture leaves no doubt about it. Nobody living right, not even one. Nobody who knows the score, nobody alert for God. They've all taken the wrong turn. They've all wandered down blind alleys. No one's living right. I can't find a single one. Their throats are gaping graves, their tongues slick as mudslides. Every word they speak is tinged with poison. They open their mouths and pollute the air. They race for the honor Sinner of the Year, litter the land with heartbreak and ruin. Don't know the first thing about living with others, they never give God the time of day. This makes it clear, doesn't it, that whatever is written in these scriptures is not what God says about others, but to us, to whom these scriptures were addressed in the first place. And it's clear enough, isn't it, that we're sinners, every one of us, in the same sinking boat with everybody else. Our involvement with God's revelation doesn't put us right with God. What it does is force us to face our complicity in everyone else's sin. Because, and I recognize it's a lot of verse, but it applies to it, and it makes, well, honestly, echoing sense. Because reading those verses, every word they speak is tinged with poison, they open their mouths and pollute the air. You could be talking about when Paul wrote the letter, you could be talking about the people that the ancient prophets faced. You could be talking about now, with social media in general. And it strikes me that when we try and go, put ourselves in different boats, well, we're all in the same boat in that regard. We're all his. We all start out as sinners. And being involved, involved in his revelation, being a church goer, doesn't put us right with God. It's relationship that does. Because the more time you spend around God's revelation, the understanding of it, the more you start to realize that we all sin. We are a very broken species, and we've made a very broken world. That's not to say there isn't beauty, because there is a lot of beauty. In the world around us, on every face that we get to meet, there is so much beauty and so much hope and so much joy. And all of it, God makes and weaves into creation. So yes, it is a broken world, and yes, we are broken people. But doesn't that trigger rejoicing more in the one who fixes? It does for me. I recognize that human beings tend to be cyclical in their behavior. We act in ways that are almost counterintuitive to what we want. We're not perfect in any stretch of the imagination. And there's a joy to being beautifully broken because it means we can be made whole. The potter's hands reworking the clay and reforming the vase or whatever fixture we happen to be. So when I read these verses, it's like, yeah, being a Jew or being a Christian or being the people that who these scriptures are initially addressed to doesn't really help if they don't get in you. Insider or outsider. It all echoes all the way through all of the verses. As if the way of the world is to open one's mouth and pollute the air with words of poison, with heartbreak, ruin, and destruction, then, are we his? Because that behavior, that's the world's way of doing it. It has been since, well, go, honestly. Just look at any history book. The beauty in the brokenness isn't that we're broken, it's that we can be made whole. It's that we can rise by lifting each other. It's that we can come before the throne and worship the I Am. So, these verses, they do sound a little finger pointy, but I don't take them as a finger point. I take them as rejoicing that God heals through our broken and that God uses who He sees fit. That it's God talking to us through scriptures, not about others. When we treat it like a book of morality, of course we get lost. There's not a whole lot of moral high points for human behavior. There are definitely the different points and definitely, woohoo, we got it moments. But it sums up human behavior, doesn't it? It sums up us. Rejoicing in the woo, we got it moments. Grieving when we slip and fail and fall, and rejoicing that God picks us back up when our hearts are humble to Him. These verses to me aren't see, everybody's doing evil. At the same time, yes, everybody's doing evil. Intentional or not. We have the expression, the path to hell is paved with good intentions for a reason. So this makes me rejoice that we have opportunity to grow. To be pruned. He is the vine, we are the branches. So I hope that today's verse can reinforce the sense of humility in Him. That we can see our own complicity and we can rejoice in the fact that His heart beats for us. And rejoice in the fact that even when Abraham and David and so many others in the Bible dropped the ball, that God didn't cast them out. He loves us anyway. I'll see you guys tomorrow for verses 21 through 24 about God setting things right. See you then.